Welcome to the Purity Pulse podcast, your go-to podcast for the natural health industry and everything Purity Life. I'm Julie.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're going to go through our regular check-ins. We're going to have Jeff from Banyan, and we're going to see what's new to Purity Life.
Yes.
So Erin.
Yes.
I was having my breakfast this morning and I was thinking of what would you prepare like for yourself, but what would you do for you have kids too, so I assume
like
it's kind of a rush.
What's my breakfast look like?
Yeah.
I love breakfast, first of all.
Yes.
It's probably my favorite meal of the day.
Me too. Something in common.
Excellent.
There you go.
Yeah, no, like a regular morning breakfast. I'm a bacon and eggs kind of girl. It's every day there's some format of eggs. I'm always making eggs and usually some sort of meat and either on toast or with a bagel or something like that. But same with the kids. I mean, they've got a few kind of options throughout the scenario, but often some scrambled eggs or oatmeal. But yeah, no, always something kind of cooked and regular to it.
Is it a conscious choice because you want to start the day with protein, low sugar, or it's just because you like the saltiness and the protein itself?
It's a bit of both. Like I said, it's a conscious choice because I really like breakfast. But also, I need to start with lots of protein or I have a big crash.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not too much carbs, definitely not the sugar, but lots of protein in the morning to kind of get me well into the afternoon. Yeah. It's funny. I had. Have you done intermittent fasting?
I read about it, and apparently for my age group now, it's not ideal because there's a lot of studies that shows that if you don't have carbs, like complex carb, not just raw sugar, that you need that, like hormones. And I'm not a specialist, so I'm just saying, recollection of all the podcasts. Yeah. And I have protein, of course, but I need that a little bit of carbs. Yeah. I do work out early in the morning, but I didn't do fasting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, for me, I tried a bit to do intermittent fasting. I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that because they say, well, if you just start by making that span greater, right, after dinner, before breakfast. So I'm like, okay, well, I won't do big breakfast. And then, about 10 o'clock or whatever, after I've been working for a bit, I'll grab some nuts or have, a little bit of a meal then. And I did that. I mean, honestly, I didn't last very long. I probably only lasted a couple weeks. Yeah. I didn't have the same clarity. Like I couldn't focus in the morning and I was hungry. Yeah. And even when I got out of that kind of, like my body started getting used to not being hungry, I just wasn't focused. I wasn't as good. I wasn't as sharp, and it bugged me. And I just switched back. I was like, "That's enough for me. This isn't right for me."
It's funny because I had a conversation with somebody at the office actually yesterday, and we were talking about all the different diets or style that are out there and popular, and we all are curious in our industry to try different things, and we see that those different trends in store. Remember, like a couple of years ago, how bulletproof coffee was the thing.
It's funny that you say that. I was just thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, it was a thing. I love the taste of it, but like in the morning, I have to have either oatmeal with a protein scoop in it. Yeah. That's how I start because that's my pre-workout. Yeah. Then when I come back, I have something else that has a bit of carbs and a bit of protein as well. Yeah. So it varies within that sense. But I think to your point, having like fasting, it's definitely not for everybody. No. And that energy is important. But it's fascinating to, I'm glad that you eat because I hear a lot of women who have kids that they're so much in a rush that they don't. And then they start their day with being behind, I call it, right?
I'm not going to lie. It's not like I'm sitting down and having a leisurely breakfast. Like it's usually kind of on the run. It gets made and then I'm eating and kind of walking
like
around
movies,
and commanding
like we
children.
See in the movies, right?
Yeah. It's not usually a very seated breakfast, but I do eat it. And if it's not completely done, then I find some sort of tray or plate or something to throw it in my car and it gets eaten.
Yeah, good. Well, it's interesting. Well, now let's get into speaking with Jeff Wigle. And just for those who are listening or watching, just a bit of background, because you hear the name and you're like, oh, who that is?
Yeah, who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly. So we've been partnering with equity or private equity group since 12 years. It's going to be 12 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
When we do our one of our 40th anniversary, actually, and in Banyan Group, which where Jeff is working, they are the one who believed in purity. And I almost get emotional saying that, but it's when, 12 years ago when SunOpta did own Purity Life and decided to put us for sale.
Yeah.
And Matthew went out and met with different equity company. And at this time, we were not doing that well.
Yes.
But Jeff decided to believe in us. So it'll be very interesting to talk with him and hear his feedback and understand what private equity is about.
Yes, because I think it's a topic that a lot of people aren't really sure about. They don't have a lot of background in. So it'll be very interesting to hear what he has to say.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much, Jeff, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe to open up, to give us a little bit of context, can you explain to us a little bit what private equity is?
Sure. I mean, private equity is a big concept. Narrowing it down to private equity as it relates to Purity Life, essentially, private equity is the business of raising capital. And so for us, we have raised capital from 750 families who we know and are exposed to us through one of our partners, pooling that capital together and then finding opportunities where you can invest that capital. Hopefully in the investment of that capital, you can build a business. That business will generate a return. Those returns come through the generation of profits or cash flows, as well as the increase in the value of those businesses. And over time, you will have generated a yield on the investment. You will hopefully have increased the value of that business.
Right.
You will monetize the investment that you've made through selling the business either to another private equity group or to a strategic investor, if you will.
Right.
You will take that capital and you will split the proceeds. Some of it we would take and the rest of it we would give to our investors, and hopefully they would be happy with the return that we've generated on the capital that they've invested through us.
Okay. So there's returns kind of throughout, and then also when you kind of split ties.
Yeah, so some groups are more focused on the build. And so they're not really focused on generating cash flow in the period of holding the business.
Right.
And some are focused on solely generating cash flows through the investment. We're a bit of both. We like to see businesses grow in value and size, and we also like to see businesses generating cash and providing a yield to our investors.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did initially attracted you to Purity Life? Because I know that you obviously have other different type of companies that you oversee like us and that you work with, and they're very different in their portfolio. So interestingly enough, it's very different in our end markets, very similar in some of the opportunities and challenges of the businesses we get exposed to and we like to invest in. I'd say the similarity, the number one thing that made us interested in Purity Life was Matthew James. So Matthew came to me 12 years ago. He had recently taken over the leadership of the Purity Life business and had a view that the business had lost its way a little bit and had a plan to bring it back to its roots as a pure play distributor of natural health products. And so we listened to Matthew's story, looked at his plan, and essentially we backed Matthew, if you will, in taking the business out from underneath SunOpta, excuse me, and then restructuring it and then building on its core strengths, what is the distributor that it is today. That's I remember the hours of work that Matthew put into preparing a presentation because he was going through different equity group potential because we were not in good shape at that time. I remember, and our numbers were not, doing as well as we are right now. And it was the old way of doing things, and we were under SunOpta. And I remember the hours and the passion and the work that Matthew put behind, and
knowing the potential, right?
Well, exactly. But just seeing that he believed so much in the company and where it could, go back to, and we have to say we're very thankful for believing in Matthew and believing in us, because we would not be here today without believing in us and trusting us.
Yeah, sure. So. Listen, Matthew's obviously been an excellent CEO of the business for the last decade, more than a decade. for me, where I've done the best, I've bet on the right people. And, Matthew was a bet that's probably the best bet I've made in my career as it relates to building a business. And so, it starts with the people.
Oh, wow.
That's
You're
amazing.
Giving us chills. I'm sure you have that too, because, you mentioned the 12 years and it's funny enough on one of our 40th anniversary.
Sure.
That will be the day that everything happened.
Is that right?
It is. I was looking at the date and I think it's June 6th. It's exactly on one of our 40th, cool. On top of celebrating our association with us, which what is important to say about private equity, because I know in the industry a lot are interested, either brands, they need support, or companies that are looking for that too. You have helped us to, bring up that level of excellence as well through your looking into data and pushing us to be better at number and identifying some areas. So your partnership has been very helpful for us as well too. So
it's been a great relationship, and it's been wonderful to see not just Matthew but the whole team and the whole organization grow. And it's been a wonderful ride. And listen, the ride's not over, right?
Yeah.
We're 12 years in, and we have lots. We had a wonderful year last year. We have lots on our plate, and we're by no means done. I think as an organization, as a ownership group with Purity Life, there's lots more to come.
We're very excited to hear that, and I would say, is that a typical thing? I mean, like to be 10 years plus, because you mentioned that you grow and you help company to grow, and then selling them and then making profit for your investors. So we're past 12 years, and so it sounds positive that there's a lot more years to come.
Sure.
So, but is that typical?
It's certainly when we made our initial investment in Purity Life, it was very atypical. It's becoming more typical today. Okay. The traditional private equity model is you go to your investor group. You ask them to put money behind you. Yeah. Typically, it's 10-year money. So you have 5 years to go find businesses to invest in. You have 5 years to build them. And at the end of that 10-year window, you have a portfolio of businesses and you sell them. Right. And you sell them because you've promised the investor group that you would give them back their money. So they know that they will have a chance to get their money back. And when you sell those businesses, hopefully they have generated a return. You give them back their capital. They pay tax on it. And then typically you put your hand back out and you say, listen, I did it once, let's do it again. And people will continue to re-up with you. So that's the traditional private equity model, which is still the most prevalent model today. Our view, and certainly back when I started the organization in its current form in 2008, was there's lots of money out there. There's a finite amount of good businesses. And if you have a good business and your relationship with the management team is a good one, why would you sell it? On a risk-adjusted basis, you should keep building it until it doesn't make sense to build it. Right. And my partners feel the same way. The challenge is finding a way in a governance structure where you can raise that capital. Your investors are happy knowing that their capital will be in the business for a long period of time. Ride too, and then you also pay your people in a way that allows them to keep the businesses for long periods of time. Right. So it was a bit of a white paper back when we started. We've moved around the puzzle a little bit over the last 10 years, and we think we've got it right now. Yeah. And our investor base are really putting a very small amount of their wealth with us. Right. And so they're quite happy to have it as long as it's performing. Right. Stay with the business. In many cases, the expectations will be multi-generational, so they'll own these investments across lifetimes, if you will. And we think it's a much better model on a risk-adjusted basis. And these, as it relates to Purity Life, if we had to sell in 5 years, we would have missed out on so much as it relates to the growth of the business. Absolutely. And your focus on long-term growth, some things you can move the needle on very quickly, investment, CapEx, and some things take years, a system, entering a new market. And if you only have a 5-year time frame, it may seem long, but it's pretty short. It doesn't give you time
for that growth. Yeah.
So you might not undertake those investments. People too. Sometimes it takes a long time to nurture people to where you want them to be. And are you willing to make those investments? And so our model, we as you know, we're still fairly demanding, a fairly demanding investment group.
Good challenge.
But we do have a much more longer term focus, and our preference really is, if the business is performing and we're very comfortable with our relationship with the management team, our preference is not to move on from a business, is really to keep building it and focus on the build, not on the exit.
Well, that's certainly worked out to our advantage, because the length of time has been only good space for us to continue to grow.
Yeah, and even though you mentioned challenging a little bit, it's a good thing. That's how we are at Purity, right?
Yeah.
We want to elevate excellence, so we don't mind a little elbow to say, it's great, but what about this, right? It's always, you're always as good as just, what tomorrow will bring. Go ahead.
What makes Purity Life kind of stand out from the group of other companies that you're investing in, or other ones that you've seen?
First by saying there's more similarities than differences.
Yeah.
So we look at about 700 businesses a year, and our track record would be that we would invest in one business a year.
Whoa.
And so we're incredibly picky in the opportunities that we partner with. And so while they're in very different industries, as you know, we're in turf care, we're in construction, we're in retail, we're all over the place. But behind it are really good people. Businesses have leadership positions in the industries that they serve.
Right.
And the value proposition is easy to understand. So there are a lot of similarities. Purity is our longest tenured investment with us. So one of the first, I think the second investment that we did. And so I would say Purity is farther along in that performance-based culture. I think most businesses aspire to be performance-based.
Right.
It's really hard to be performance-based and be performance-based across the whole organization.
Right.
And so, ensuring that the culture is like-minded from the executive suite down to those that are in your warehouse, not an easy thing to undertake. It takes years and years and years to drive that. Being held accountable, it's easy to say you want to be held accountable, but actually walking the walk and talking the talk. These are things that Matthew and your entire team have been working on for years, and you get better at every year. And sometimes you stumble on things, but you learn from them. And so that performance-based culture has really been with the business for 12 years, I believe. And so Purity is certainly far enough along. Maybe switching gears, when you have success, it allows you to open doors to other avenues.
Right.
And often that's quite good, but often it leads you down paths where you're maybe not as focused, if you will, or your core skill set isn't as applicable to the opportunity that presents itself. And Purity has done a great job of staying focused. So because of our success, we could have gone into different product sets. We could focus on different geographies. We could go to the US, go to Europe, go to Australia. And Matthew and the leadership team have been really focused on what good growth looks like. When we want to take on new products, ensuring that we're going to service them just as well as our existing products. And not dilute the Purity brand for the sake of growth. And so I think you guys know who you are, and you're more focused than some of our other businesses.
I think, some of that can be so tempting, right? Those simple successes to start running down those roads. And I think Purity has done that before. Like, we've seen that, we've gone through that and learned from it. And with your support, have definitely been able to kind of keep that focus. And
the focus and the change, sometimes like you've thrown a curveball as, COVID. COVID happened, and, everything is going smooth. You have the rhythm, and then boom. So what do we do now? We need to make decision, and being sort of pioneer in deciding how we're going to shift with what's happening in front of us. And again, you've been very supportive in all the initiative that we took for that. And I would like to ask you, because again, we hear a lot of people that are looking for a private equity. Is there a type of advice that you would give them when they're thinking about having partnering with somebody like Banyan or other people? I know you don't do like brands or things like that, but like companies.
I'd say a few things. One, there's lots of money out there in the world, and so there's no lack of capital available for good opportunities. Find somebody who you're culturally compatible with, I would say. Building a business is hard. And you want to make sure there's like-minded people around the table and you enjoy spending time together, because it's
There'll
not
be hours.
You'll be spending a lot of time.
it's not a straight line either, right?
No.
You know, you put your best foot forward, and then the world unfolds the way it does, and sometimes it aligns with your strategy, and sometimes it doesn't, and you need to pivot, right? And so finding people you enjoy working with and are that culturally aligned with your values as it relates to growing a business.
Yes.
Pretty important. Value add. So people need to bring more than money to the table. Do they have relationships?
Right.
Do they have know-how? Have they seen
Good point,
the story before, if you will? And so the value add beyond capital is incredibly important.
Yeah,
if you
good
will.
advice. Yeah,
on the flip side, for entrepreneurs, many people like the idea of private equity because it gives them access to capital, gives them an ability to grow. And if you sell some of your business as part of bringing private equity in, maybe you feel like you de-risk your own personal balance sheet. Be careful, or be sure that you want a partner. So many entrepreneurs build businesses because they don't like the idea of having partners. They want to kind of control everything, if you will.
Yes.
Well, private equity is much partnering, and in many cases they want control. And it means you have to behave a little differently. You have to
accept.
When you build strategy, it can't just be from your gut. It has to be well thought out and articulated. You need to get buy-in from your partners, and it's structured, if you will. Some people really want that, and some people don't want partners. And so if you really are the type of person who's better as a lone wolf, or command and control starts with you, you probably don't want private equity, because we don't cut corners in our thought process. We want to see fulsomeness of thought. We want to make sure you've looked at all the alternatives. You measure twice before you cut once. Sometimes that slows the business down, and that's not for everyone. So make sure you really want a partner.
It sounds like a marriage to me. I bet, right? Because you have to make sure that you will be able to accept, some things you might not want to hear, and be able to work and when there's challenges, like it's great when everything goes well, but it's when you have challenge and you need to have the reality check. And so you need to go back and do your homework. That's going to happen. So you need to have that partnership that has the same value. And you, even though it's hard, you believe that you're looking for the best for the company and the revenue as well. So very good advice.
I would say, in its crudest form, it's easy to get married, it's hard to get divorced. So be careful about getting married, right? So date, get to know each other very well, understand what the strategy is, are you aligned? And if you're not, then you probably shouldn't get together. Because there's no point in saying, well, we're not really aligned, let's do the deal, and then I'll force it after the fact. It'll just create conflict.
Do you see that? Do you see that a lot where companies and businesses are just so eager to get that equity that they're kind of jumping into bed with partners that they really shouldn't be with?
Yes, I do. And oftentimes that's why businesses merger businesses, they fail, because you're trying to jam assets together instead of thinking about it as a people together, right? Businesses are assets, but behind those assets are people. And so, all the time you see an opportunity where your ambition overlooks some of the core challenges that may present itself, and you drive forward without alignment. So we try very hard not to do that.
And I think a little bit to what you were saying before too, so often the entrepreneurs are the kind of people who just want to kind of force forward at a very high pace.
Correct.
And that doesn't necessarily jive with having those other controlling partners.
Most successful entrepreneurs, they could have been lawyers or accountants or other things. They chose the more risky path. There's reasons why they've done that. Sometimes it's because they don't play well in large organizations, right? And that's okay. Just at the end of their career, when they're very successful, you can't just go back to it. It's very hard.
And just to go back to the point also, if you think about private equity just by money thrown at you, that's dangerous too. We've seen that with other, either brands or a company that saw all the money, they forget the plan, and they just spend and spend. So private equity will bring you that regimented of, here's money, but here's how you're going to invest.
That's right. Certainly our approach to private equity is that way. We don't want growth at all costs. It's measured growth, and sometimes there's too much risk in a project, even if it can be quite successful. It's just not for us, because the downside is pretty bad too.
Very good.
You want to jump into a little bit of more personal side of Jeff?
We're going to go into when you don't work, what type of exercise or sports or what takes your minds off of all those numbers and spreadsheets and all of that?
Well, I do love my sports.
Yes.
And working out has always been a staple in my life.
Yeah.
So a gym rat would be something I've been since 15 or 16 years old. It's a lot of years.
Oh, wow.
I'm sitting here with a torn hamstring and glute.
I heard that.
So I've been a hockey player up until last Tuesday. So
Oh my God.
I'm on the shelf. So I play hockey in the winters. Still pretty passionate about hockey.
Yeah.
Coach my daughters. My son's still playing.
Yeah, your son is still playing.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So hockey in the winters, and in the summers I like to bike.
Yeah.
I get to get out on the road. I find just the environmental flow of being on the road on the bike is wonderful.
You've done a trip, I think, was it a couple of years ago that you went in Europe, and that was like how many kilometers that you did? That was super fascinating.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, so I was a golfer. I've done lots of sports in my life, so golf has always been a bit of a passion of mine, and I thought I would gravitate towards golfing much more with the time that was freed up in the pandemic. And in fact, what happened is I jumped on my bike. I really didn't golf at all, and fell in love again with the sport.
Biking,
and so with the world opening up, I've been to Europe a couple of times for bike trips.
Oh, wow.
Italy, France, with my wife. And yeah, we bike anywhere from 60 to 120 kilometers a day while we're out there, and lots of fun.
Wow.
Just
so fun.
Fully propulsed with your leg, not the bike with the
The
engine.
e-bike.
Yeah, the e-bike in Europe and all the hills and everything, right?
You could do that if you choose.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't see you like that. Yeah.
It's not Jeff's cup of tea.
Yeah.
Not yet, I suppose. Yeah.
And you've participated to a great CrossFit class with us, which was very fun.
Super fun.
You were so
Yeah.
definitely you are like an athlete, because he was just like in and following us and not a problem there.
Yeah,
so
it's
fun.
so fun. I don't know how you guys stay healthy with that, 'cause that is one intense sport, if you will.
It is,
But very enjoyable morning with you. And,
that
and
was
the team.
very cool.
Yeah.
Are you a regular CrossFitter, or you just kind of
No,
jumped in?
No, I'm
It's an invite.
more of a like lift weights and then do other things. But CrossFit I love. There's only so many things you can do in the world, and I find it really tough on my body. Like, you should probably warm up before you do it.
Yeah, we have to say that we didn't
Just
warm
throw
up.
them right
It's
in.
like, here's the workout. We just jump in and you warm up as you go. But that would be smarter.
Yeah, but really enjoyable. I love kind of everything that goes. It's not just the working out. It's the whole community of it, and the wellness associated with it is just fantastic.
Yeah, and the way that you cannot stay connected to your brain. That's what I find in CrossFit that I love so much, is the workout is so hard that you can't think about work or your brain, because it's so demanding. So that's the hour where you disconnect, right? So
when you see people running on the treadmill and they've got their iPad or something, how can you actually watch something if you're running? You're either not running hard enough or something, right? Like,
I saw somebody on the Stairmaster today reading a book, and I was like, I don't get it, because for me, I need to like take notes to like really capture what's there. And I can't go hard, sweating crazy. So there's something that is not happening
There
in
is,
between.
guys, there is a whole level of people that work out to not this like immense, intense level that
This
you
is
guys
true.
do. I hate
This
to
is
break
true.
it to you, but there are other people that watch shows while they're on the treadmill, and it still counts, guys.
It's okay. We'll call it.
Don't
balance.
take that away from me.
listen, anytime I go to the gym and there's somebody there, I am so proud of them actually just being there, whether they're in their first class or in their thousandth class. It's just great to be there, and you have a choice of staying home or being active, and active is always the right answer, right? It's not easy to do, and if you haven't done it for a while, it's even harder. So so I support anyone who just tries.
So what I don't understand is, because I just heard you say that you have 2 kids in hockey, and I have 2 kids in hockey. Where is this time coming from that you're filling doing all
learning
of
from you.
these
She's
things?
like, okay, I'm gonna learn
How
how
old
to
are
do
your
this.
kids?
Well, so I have 3 children. I have a 20-year-old boy who plays for the Barrie Colts, so he doesn't live at home anymore.
Yeah.
I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter, grade 12, grade 10.
Oh, wow.
And the girls play house league hockey, and I coach them, so super fun.
Yeah.
Their main sport would be cheerleading. So
yeah?
my younger daughter just got back from Quebec City, so she was there cheerleading this weekend.
Nice.
But fairly active. They volleyball, rugby, hiking, biking. Our whole family is going to the Azores in May for a hiking week together. So
Amazing.
A fairly active family. I feel really fortunate in that you kind of point them in the right direction when they're young, and they just go and they kind of enjoy it. And so I've never really had to push them into doing sporty stuff. if you will.
Yeah, by example.
That's been my experience with my kids too, and it's so nice when they just really want to be involved and they really want to do those things, because then you can. I mean, my kids are quite a bit younger, but I can kind of foresee that they will always be active and kind of get into those sort of activities and whatnot.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Another question that I was just thinking about: if you haven't done what you do as a job right now, would you have been a hockey player or something like that?
Tell us about the career you missed out on.
So I could aspire to be a professional athlete. I don't think I'm athletic enough. So, I think the mind would push me towards that. The raw athleticism is not that. So no, I love my sports. I love being, physical fitness, if you will, but not an athlete.
Not
never.
an athlete.
No, for sure. I think I found my right role over time. People ask you how you got to where you are, and not really sure. You don't have this master plan when you're. I mean, my daughter's grade 12. She's going into university next year, and like, did you know when you were 17? No. Well, did you know when you were 20? Not really.
Yeah.
How about 25 when you were actually working? Well, no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
No, that's
but
true.
And I look
Changed
back on
many
it
times.
all. I think it's better to expose yourself and try things. And sometimes you're in the wrong spot and sometimes you're in the right spot than to not try at all. And so that's my advice to her and to people is just expose yourself, get out there and try.
Yeah. How did you found though that was your calling? Like, were you in a certain position and you did that and you said, yeah, that's really, I'm going for private equity, or like when that moment did happen to you?
I don't know if there's a real aha moment. I would say that, I started as an accountant and then I moved into investment banking.
Okay.
And in investment banking, you raise capital for businesses, or you sell their businesses, or you help them buy businesses, but it's very transactional.
Right.
And I found, that the transaction are the necessary evils to go do something with the business afterwards.
Right.
And as an investment banker, you see the transaction, but you don't see really what happens afterwards.
you don't
Was it
get
a
the
good deal?
experience.
Was it a bad deal?
Yeah.
How was
And then
value
there.
created? Was it a win for everyone? So you don't see that. So I felt like I didn't want to be a transaction-based person, whatever that was, when I was in investment banking.
Weren't getting the fulfillment from that?
Correct, that's right. And so it was very interesting, but just, in your tummy, it didn't give you that warm and fuzzy, if you will. And so I had the opportunity to go into private equity. Unfortunately, the first investment I was associated with went sideways pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah?
And the board excused the CEO about a year into our investment. And for some reason decided that I was the right guy to go in and run
really?
that business. And I was 31, I think, at the time. And I moved down to Cincinnati for a year.
Wow.
And went into a business that had maybe lost its way a little bit.
Right.
And with the help of a great team down there and some people that came with me, we were able to turn the business around. And so a year later, very exhausting, very tiring. I had a young baby at home in Toronto. We had turned the business around. We had saved 300 or 400 jobs. We had kind of righted the ship, and I was exhausted, and I felt really good about it.
But good,
And I was like, wow, that's creating something.
That is
right?
a moment,
and so I said, well, I don't want to do that again. But I do want to find a way to go build businesses. I think I have something I could offer. Maybe my the accounting, the investment banking side lend some opportunity to partner with people like Matthew and yourselves and bring a skill set that's additive to a business, and together we can go build something special. And so this happens. So you invest in some businesses, you see some success, and you that's what feels good. If you will.
Achievement.
That's right. But sustainable achievement, right?
Absolutely.
At Purity, we're a healthy business. We've added a number of people to the business. It looks like there are opportunities for people to grow their career. We are really providing a valuable service to the marketplace. I mean, without people like us, there'd be much less product set in the marketplace for consumers to have and look for. And so we're a conduit to something good in the world.
And you're seeing that impact that you're having.
That's right. And so it feels much more fulsome. And so that's maybe why I ended up where I ended up.
That sounds really right. Yeah, definitely. So you're talking about products. Let's go with that last little question. What product is your, in the natural product that you're using and that you like right now, I would say?
Well, I mean, the number one product and the one that you love to talk about is BioSteel.
I love that influence.
I am chronically dehydrated in everything I do. And so getting rehydrated, unfortunately, So water is obviously a great opportunity to rehydrate.
Yeah.
And I try to drink as much water as I can.
This
Sometimes you
one
need
tastes
something
good.
different.
Yeah.
And you need something
Yeah.
more than just water.
Yeah, especially you
And
bike a lot, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's right. And
Yeah.
some of the products out there for rehydration, there's a lot of sugar in them, and I worry about the amount of sugar I take in. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes you don't. And so, BioSteel is just a fantastic product.
That's
So-
great. We have a great product just
got
behind
a winner.
you. That'll go
There you
away.
go. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Jeff, thanks so much for coming
was
and talking to
fantastic.
us and giving us a little background. It's been very informative, and I'm sure that our listeners have really appreciated it as well.
Well,
Yes.
thanks for having me. I enjoyed the chat.
Thank you. So what's new to Purity Life? We have a new brand called Nutrimin, and it is a gummy brand that is from PEI, so within our Canadian market.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that product is that there's no sugar.
Yep.
And also very good. The product, the gummies are easy to chew. They taste great.
Yeah.
Packaging is really
It's
bright.
really bright.
Very
It's really
fun.
catchy packaging. I like
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
And why another gummy? Well, gummy are still really hot. It's one category that, keeps growing.
Yeah.
And people are looking for different options, always having in mind the no sugar. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so it was put together by a mom whose son had peanut allergies, and she was running into exposures with some of this thing. So it was really important to her to create some options that were completely allergen free. So that's the big premise there. But yeah, like you said, it's sugar free. They're not using any dyes. They're using things like purple carrots and beta carotene for the dyes. It's fruit pectin, so vegetarian pectin as well, which is
Very
nice.
good.
They've got 5 different SKUs.
Yeah.
So there is an adult multi, and there's a kids multi.
Yeah.
There's a mood booster, energy booster, and sleepy time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just like a good collection. But
It is.
not
It's
too,
a good, yeah.
Yeah, too big. So everything and I did taste the energy one, of course. I love everything energy. And it's awesome. It doesn't give you like a rush, but you feel really just that little nice energy. If you don't want to have an energy drink, which are very popular these days, but that's kind of a milder way. So
Yeah. And like you said, that packaging is really on point. Their
fun.
website's nice. Like I think they'll really have good support for us to get this one running as well.
Very good point. We discuss a lot with the brand, and they're ready to support the store. So that's going to be fantastic. They're amazing to work with already. So
and love that Canadian touch.
yes.
So here we are at the end of another episode. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Send us your feedback to marketing@puritylife.com. Definitely follow us on Insta, Purity Life Health Products LP. I'm at Erin G. Macklin.
JD_girl power.
And next week, we're going to talk to Cassie, one of our faves from Purity Life.
Yes.
And she's going to give us some hints and tricks on TikTok.
Exactly. Don't miss that. TikTok is important in your life.
You bet.